there is anything outside which disturbs, which caught our attention, and what catches our attention and why and how. It is because the mind is outside. But why the mind is outside? Mind is outside because it wants to move from unhappiness to happiness. You see, it wants to move from stress to peace. Now, see what happens. My focus, mental focus, is on the object of the situation, of the people, of the relationship outside, and because of overwhelming focus, my mind has created an idea that the happiness lies outside and I am unhappy. Hence, I have to make an effort, I have to do an action, and that causes the whole problem. I don't see. Come on, let me first analyze where the unhappiness is. Can I really move from unhappiness to happiness in the world at all? Answer is big no. So once we are clear about it and we live into that conviction, the life changes. Life changes. You are responsible for my stress. So it means I have to find someone else to be happy. See that? So only a seeker can understand. But if you say to a non-seeker, they will object to it. They will react to it. No, no, he is responsible. He, she is responsible. No, I don't have the resources. So now I'm coming to the so so you will understand it is. No, no, I don't have the resources to 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 be happy. So where the resources are used, the resources are only used at the physical level. Mind is not at all affected if you have a big mansion or 50,000 square feet home or 500 square feet home. It is the resources only for the body. And then the mind limits these resources also. Mind says that you cannot sleep on 10 bed. You can only sleep in one bed. So the masters, our wisdom never says that you don't do business. It never says that you leave everything as the Buddha left. Buddha left everything after 7 years, he returned to the same world, recognizing that this world is not a delusion now. So why you can't recognize the world is a delusion here and what part of delusion that is living in my mind? So let me clarify, let me clear the delusion in my mind so that I can see the beautiful world. So as I discussed, and perhaps I talked, the king has two ministers, and the one minister always spoke sweet sounding words to make the king happy. And the second minister always told him what is right and good. King is wise enough. He heard both of them. Why? The first minister gave him the comfort, and the second minister gave him the wisdom. And by the wisdom, I see the blind spots. From the wisdom, I see whether the comfort is not turning into pleasure-seeking mind. So a seeker has to listen to the both. If the body is not comfortable, how can I talk? How simple it is. But it has to be only comfortable, and I have to understand what it means by being comfortable. It has no element of obsession, craving, attachment, and aversion. Whether I'm doing business, whether I'm living in a relationship, whether I'm talking to a son or a daughter, am I comfortable? Am I moving from peace to peace in my relationship? So it means that both the ministers in the mind are required. And if both the ministers are required, then I need not to leave what I'm doing, whether I'm doing a business or a teaching or any profession but I have to excel in that profession by the wisdom. I have to live to the next level. And that is how we have fourfold desires: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma, personal duty; artha, earning money; kama, seeking pleasure; and moksha, freedom, awakening. That is why all the desires should be grouped into four categories. And there should be an orderliness in that. I told you that I'm still running to find a car. I have to lease the car for 3 years. So at least one idea is always in the mind that, this I don't own the car. Let the mind be taught a good lesson. No, if you buy this car, so the neighbors will be proud of you. I said, I'm not buying a car for the neighbors. What are you talking? I want my comfort. I want my ease. So that is how those people, the salespeople, exploit us. And that salespeople is the entire world that is suffering. So I have to balance the both. And that is where lies the difference between the karma and the karma yoga. I have to check when I am doing a nitya and a naimitya karma, am I moving from peace to peace? Or am I moving from peace to stress? Am I moving from happiness to unhappiness? Or am I moving from happiness to happiness? Or am I moving from unhappiness to happiness? I'm moving from unhappiness to happiness. I will always be busy. I have a lot of challenges in my life. You have to start living from today. Ask yourself all the time, am I moving from peace to peace? No. Where is the problem? The second minister first come. Let me find the wisdom and let me settle the mind. Let me move from peace to peace. Now your outer life is relaxed and calm and comfortable, so that you can pay more attention, you can dedicate and commit. That is why the Buddha built a lot of monasteries. That is why Buddha intelligently, and all in Eastern wisdom tradition said, now you devoted your entire life for this journey. That is why you are initiated into monkhood. Now you are a monk. So the monk should not live a professional life, a social life. So all the entire journey of the Eastern wisdom says the monk has a right to beg for the food and the home and the clothes. But if you are living a family life, you don't have a right to beg. Then you'll have to live a professional life and a social life. So where is the problem? There is no conflict between the living a personal life, professional life, business life, and at the same time we can awaken to ourselves. You had a long-standing doubt about it, so now we are making clear. You asked me a couple of questions, I remember, perhaps last year, maybe 2 years ago. What is happening? How can I balance the book? It's already balanced. Every time you're looking, your mind, are you moving into an action? Yes. What is that action? So what is the motive of that action? Motive of that action is to move from unhappiness to happiness. No, that's the problem. Let me solve it first. I have to move from happiness to happiness. So the second minister, you invite the second minister, apply the discernment and dispassion, and then you are ready for a nitya karma. Now the real nitya karma comes. We have understood intellectually, we have applied it, no doubt, but now it comes. The life changes. To provide a comfort, no doubt, to provide a comfort, to learn and speak with a kindness and empathy, so that I can communicate in peace and happiness. It demands the second minister, and the comfort is given by the first minister. I need a comfort, I have to sit comfortably to talk to you. It has nothing to do with the spirituality, but it has to do with the spirituality because it has to manifest. That consciousness has to manifest. Why Buddha is sitting in a meditation pose and talking to the people? Because he wants a comfort in the body. He wants a second minister to take care of that. So people normally miss these subtle points. And when they miss these subtle points, they think that, oh, Buddha did austerity, used to stand on one foot. So I will go to the Himalayas and stand on one foot. Nothing is going to happen to you. You may lose one foot, but nothing is going to happen. The austerity or a penance or the tapasya means that I have to strike a balance between the two. But I keep the second minister as a boss, not the first minister. If I keep the first minister as a boss, then comfort moves to the pleasure moves to the displeasure moves to the attachment and aversion. It creates a craving, it creates a problem. So now I lost the nitya karma. I'm doing karma, I'm not doing karma yoga. Entire nitya karma yoga. If I say it is an intellectual yoga, the answer would not be wrong. It is purely an intellectual yoga. You change your attitude inside the mind. Every master, including my master, used to say, do you think that I'm eating? No, I'm not eating. I'm offering that food to my Krishna inside my heart. You change your attitude. Changing that attitude becomes the nitya karma. You think like this. You may be thinking that it's crazy stuff. No. Ultimately, that is going to change my attitude towards everyone, everything in this world. So when everything is changing, my perception of the world will change. Perception of the world is changing means that I live in higher awareness. Higher awareness means that I'm a seeker. So when I'm a seeker, I perceive water and the waves simultaneously. A non-seeker perceives only the waves. No, there is a wave. There is no water. But a seeker perceives waves in the water simultaneously, the space and the room simultaneously. The space behind the thought, emptiness behind the thought is always present because the thought appears on the surface of the mind, and then I say I have a lot of thoughts in the mind. But still the emptiness is present because without the space, the thought cannot be present. What is this process known as? One word, insight. From insight, we can enter into the intuition. Can I have an insight all the time? Yes, I can have an insight all the time. Whether you are perceiving your relations or situation or conditions, you have that insight all the time. By giving these examples, you have an insight all the time. And when you have that insight all the time, then the real journey of Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan starts. What is going to happen? You are listening and you are perceiving. You are already in the state of meditation. That is what Buddha said. Mindfulness is not a practice. But if I understand by my ego that mindfulness is not a practice, I have to do nothing. You said I have to do nothing, you are doing something. But a non-seeker cannot understand this. You said you are not doing anything, you have done something. That not doing something is also doing something. So we have to take this karma yoga to that level, where you have a perception, simultaneous perception. And in that simultaneous perception, karma yoga takes a very deep root all the time. So we build the confidence of the mind and the body by comfort, by being carefree, by relaxed, living a family life, having some resources. I'm okay. It's okay. So in fact, now I am seeing that these resources are basically helpful for my spiritual journey. A monk has not to think. The monastery provides everything. He has not to think of the profession. We all have to think. So sometimes people say, if I cannot think of the money, okay, stop thinking about the food and then let me say, how can you eat your food? So we enter into unnecessary problems. J. Krishnamurti used to talk to Europe and to America, to Australia, to the entire world. And he, in those days, in 70s and 60s and 80s, he used to charge $1 only. But there were 50,000 people. So So now you see that he's charging only $1. That's not a right perception. But when I see UJ Krishnamurti, with whom I spent almost many months together, he never charged anything. Why? He already had enough to live, to maintain his livelihood. So he said, I don't need anything from you. I will not share that platform. I'm not a teacher. So that makes a sense. That makes a sense. So we have to understand the different modalities, how these masters work. Janak was a great master, but at the same time, he was a king. So you are the king of your business, you are living your professional life. It's a part of the journey. That is how the God has created us. That is how the God has put us into that condition. I have to accept it, acknowledge. And there I have to do my nitya karma. Nitya karma or any karma in the Eastern wisdom does not mean that I have to start doing some different action. Action outside is the same, attitude has to change. Attitude has to change. So all of our problems in the life of a seeker, all of our challenges in the life of a seeker means that somewhere the impurities in the mind is present, which is seeking. It is a pleasure seeking mind. That is why I see the problem outside. That is why I see the adverse situation outside. It is the pleasure seeking mind. It is not the real self seeking mind. It is not the self seeking mind. So if the pleasure seeking mind dictates my sadhana or the practices, then I find today I have this problem, tomorrow I have this problem, day after I have this problem. Because I want to move, my mind wants to move from unhappiness to happiness. Otherwise, as such, there is no problem. I see the world is suffering. Many people think in a negative way, the world is suffering and I will go to the Himalayas. So that is not a word. That is also a word. No, I will leave my husband or a wife. That is not a word. Where are you going? What you will get? The seeker's life, the seeker continues to engage oneself in contemplation and reflection. It analyzes the cause and effect of every action, and then it checks that whether I can offer this karma to make it a karma yoga. You hurt your knee, go to the doctor says here are the pills and the ointment and it will take 7 days. And now you are worried, if I am a spiritual person, I can get rid of this problem in a day, in a minute. So that's a wrong thinking. I don't follow the cause and effect relationship at the physical level. Huh? The law of physics should apply to the body. And the law of the spirituality applies to the real self. Law of the physics should apply to the wave. The wave changes, but the water does not change. So that water is, I'm saying it is the spiritual consciousness. You may have a storm, you have big waves, you have high tide, you have low tides, water does not change. Karma yoga is this. Karma, this is what Gita taught In the Gita, Arjuna was taught this. Mother, son demands sweet, mother gives it. First time, second time, third time. Fourth time, mother says no. Control it. That is the way my mind should become the mother to take care. That is what the sama, dhamma, titiksha, uparati is. It should be applied here and now in every life situations. Oh, that guy is making me crazy. And your mind starts thinking, oh, let me calm down, let me see. It's okay, it's a part of the journey. Many people have appreciated me, recognized me. This guy is making me crazy. I'm not going to be crazy. That is what the tapasya is. I need not to do tapasya going into the Himalayas. I have to introduce karma yoga in my daily life so that I continue to move from peace to peace, happiness to happiness. I'm performing this action, I'm happiness. Now I'm completed this action, I'm still in the state of the happiness. Karma yoga can lead us to a greater realization. You know how? I'll tell you a simple thing. From the morning until late, you retire to the bed. We perform minimum, maybe 5,000 actions from one action to the other action. 5,000 at the personal life, professional life, social life, business life, driving, eating, lying down, sitting, a lot of actions. And in every action, you are moving from happiness to happiness. Your mind gets an insight. Is happiness everywhere? Happiness is my essential nature. That is the nature of the real self, and that is why we say the real self is all pervading. You look at the analysis, the way these masters have analyzed it, the cause and effect. That is the starting point is Shreyas. My mind is obsessed with the prayers, so I have to start with the Shreyas. Balancing, not leaving the prayers, balancing it. I have to live into that state. Think and contemplate. I gave you a couple of examples. Insight is that you have a simultaneous awareness. You see your wife, but you also see something else than the wife. Now, whatever her outer activities, physical, mental, and emotional, becomes temporary. It is constantly changing. What do you see inside? It is permanent. So, what happens by the karma yoga? Gradually, that we perceive the entire world as a drama, as the waves rises and falls down. Every day it is happening. Days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, situation changes, but you are transitioning from happiness to happiness. So, situation is not responsible for your happiness or unhappiness. Relationship is not responsible for your happiness and unhappiness. You are in tune with doing the nitya and the naimitya karma. You are in perfect tune with the karma yoga because the attitude inside is not changing because of the changing situations outside. It is going to happen. If we keep a simultaneous awareness, I have money, very good. So I perceive the comfort in the money. I don't see the comfort now. I see that when I go to the restaurant, I see the comfort in the food That is imagined comfort. Master says, don't live in the imagined comfort because it's all imagination. It's all imagination. You live in the real comfort. That is what the desire fulfillment in check. And then you have enough time to live with that insight all the time. And then you are ready to do the karma yoga. This world has endless activity. And no activity is responsible for peace and happiness. They are objective. That is the world of name and the form. The wave is the world of name and the form, but fact is that it is only water. My honey is a word of name and the form, but fact is that it is only the real self. So it facilitates me to move from happiness to happiness. I simply cannot say, I cannot simply force my mind to move from unhappiness to happiness or happiness to happiness. I cannot force. I have to understand it clearly. If I don't understand it clearly, and then I start taking the negative steps, and it causes a lot of challenges. That is not sadhana. So I'm just talking from a couple of the principles from the Gita. Maybe chapter 4 or 5 is there, yes. Where it says that your knowledge in the mind is responsible for karma yoga. But then you change your behavior and attitude outside. So, by understanding, we can easily recognize I'm attached here. And the moment you are attached, you can find out you want to move from unhappiness to happiness. It's very easy to recognize, it's not a big deal. Why you didn't do this? So, that's a movement from unhappiness to happiness because I have already imagined happiness in getting things done in such a way which has not been done. So I have a question, why you have not done this? In every statement you can find whether your mind wants to move from unhappiness to happiness or happiness to happiness. So once you recognize, you acknowledge, you change your mental state. You had a big smile instead of reacting to it. Outer changes trigger reaction in the mind all the time. Outer changes. If the changes is according to me, good reaction. If the change is not according to me, negative reaction. But from where this negative and the positive reaction comes, basis is attachment and aversion. Look at it. Two ministers balanced all the four desires. So what happens, we have a deeper insight that this happiness inside as if it is beyond the cause and effect. Why it is beyond the cause effect? It does not depend on my action. It depends on the knowledge, and the knowledge forms an attitude. Knowledge forms an attitude, and the life starts changing then. the real self. We recognize this happiness, this peace is not dependent on any thought, any speech, any action. The space is not dependent on my house, your house, skyscraper, anything. The water is not dependent on the waves. The waves depend on the water. So let it be dependent. Let it be dependent on the water. Let my mind and the body and the intellect and my action should be dependent on the real self. Why it should depend on my ego and I thought? That is how you have to contemplate. So when you contemplate like this, then the life undergoes a change completely. And that is the another way to understand that is the karma yoga. And again, you always remember nitya and the namitya karma. Yes, that is what the crux of it. So the first step is that we start learning, we start applying intellectual yoga, if I use the word. For the karma yoga, yes. Attitude inside, now I'm ready to think, speak, and act. So when you start doing it and you move to the next level of your awareness, you will recognize that your external situation do not disturb you, do not please you too much. If it gives you too much of pleasure, we fall into unconsciousness. And when we already suffer, we find that other is responsible. We are already speaking and acting from the lower consciousness. Our likes and dislikes, our victory and defeat, our attachment and detachment, our demands and our reactions is the word, and that word is suffering. That word is delusion. That is what Buddha says samsara. So, karma yoga, I'm engaging in all kinds of actions outside with a perfect attitude in the mind. My mind has a clarity and conviction that I'm moving from peace to peace. So I'm thinking my head, I'm clear. So gradually what happens, I'm not at all concerned about the results of my action. I simply did it for the best. But because I did it, the result is bound to come. But I'm not thinking. I'm not obsessed. I'm not craving for that result. That is why the Gita says you leave the results onto the existence and you offer all your actions to me. All my actions to me. What it means that there is no doership. The ego is not acting as a doer of the action. And the spontaneity comes. I had a classmate, very good classmate. We studied until our school days. So every time he calls me and then he starts giving me a lecture. He is not changing anything. He has a lot of challenges in his life. So I said, no, he's a classmate, so he just wants to uh, create an impression. I said, that's good. And he gives some references from different masters. But I see his life is not changed. The day before yesterday, we have a Republic Day in India. So then he said, now I'm hanging the phone because I have to attend a community meeting. He lives in a society. Why? No, there is a Republic Day celebration. Then I said that you have been talking to me, so you are going to give a good talk there. No, 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 I never give a talk. I'm scared of giving a talk. I said, then you always give a talk to me. So I don't experience the freedom. At least I said, you know it too much. But then he told me, I have lot of fears in me. So does the knowledge not help you to get out of the fear? And there he is stuck. You caught me. I said, yes, I caught you. If the knowledge cannot get you rid of the fear, then it's better not to talk of this knowledge. And you are a hypocrite. You are simply talking to me because you feel that I will listen to you. So he said, yes, that is a fact. Nobody listens to me. I'm doing karma, I'm not doing karma yoga. There is another word that needs to be understood clearly. Gita says unselfish action is karma yoga. And selfish action is only karma that will cause lot of problems. So when we use the word selfishness in Eastern wisdom, it is egoistic action. One. Any action performed because of attachment and detachment. That is selfish action. So people have a lot of misconception about this. I don't have any resources. How can I be unselfish? Come on, we are talking of inner resources. Both are required. No, if you have the resources, you should offer the charity and other social activities. Yeah, that is good. That is also a part of the journey. But first thing to understand, the very selfishness in yoga means that I am thinking, speaking out of attachment, detachment, out of delusion, out of seeking the pleasure. That means I'm engaged in my selfish activity. And unselfish means that now that action is not prompted by the ego, not prompted by the attachment, not prompted by the detachment, not prompted by the reaction, not prompted by the craving and obsession. So here all these words makes me selfish. I can tell you, yeah, we are going to learn that. Yeah, that part is very important. So I'm leaving that part. So it means that is why, understand it clearly, that is why Krishna says you act out of from duty, not from the ego. So you act from the duty, you are being unselfish. Personal duty, nitya and the nimitta karma. You act from the nitya and the nimitta karma, that is unselfishness. But you are acting from, not from, you are acting from the ego, Ego means attachment, detachment, reaction. Then what happens? I start moving from unhappiness to happiness. I'm start searching. Ego is always searching happiness outside, peace outside, love outside, relationship outside. Think selfishness and unselfishness. I'm learning Eastern wisdom. That is an unselfish act, but I can make it a selfish act because of the mind, because of the motivation, because of the intention. So now we are defining, we are understanding. Selfish act is caused by the attachment, reaction, craving, obsession, thinking of victory and the defeat, etc., etc., etc. I am acting selflessly. You act selflessly in your relationship, even without sparing a single penny. Your relationship will be better. If I'm acting out of the selfishness with a lot of money, it is not going to land me to the peace because I'm expecting happiness because I have given something. So that attitude changes. That is where the nitya karma and the naimitya karma lies. So that is how our Gita explains that if I act from the ego motive for personal gain, so personal gain is also attached to attachment and detachment. It is attached to the craving. Otherwise, the Buddha will say, unless every hungry man will eat the food, then only I will eat. He will die. You cannot see every human being. Still, many people die of hunger. We have to be very clear. So, when I introduce the doership in the action, that very doership comes with an attachment and detachment, comes with the delusion, comes with the idea of imagined success in that. Imagined failure causes the fear. The fear and the anger, craving and the obsession all comes from that doership, my friend. Selfish and unselfish action.
Duty is clear when in professional action, but in personal action, duty is not so clear. Because in personal action, we usually also act looking for pleasure.
Yes. So every action is personal. It comes from you. Whether you are living a personal life or a professional life, why you separate a sensual pleasure from the professional pleasure of earning money? Why your mind is so narrow minded? It is the same action that you are doing it outside. So you are defining personal action means only the sensual pleasure. Sensual pleasure may be going to the restaurant and eating the food, buying a car and driving the car. So we have a mental taboo that this is totally separate. Pleasure is pleasure only. Definition of the pleasure comes with an object. When your mind comes in contact with anything, any object outside, whether it is a body or it is a food or it is a car or it is a cloak.
But what is duty?
Duty. What is duty and duty? Duty. My personal duty.
Selfishless duty.
So what is your duty towards the body? Natural duty to keep it clean, to keep it healthy. That is dharma. Duty is explained as dharma in our text. Normally people translate dharma as a religion. What is your duty towards your mind? First take it at the personal level. Now what is your duty towards your wife? No, I'm a husband, so what is my duty as a husband? Finished. I think I told you before, so that man said, because my wife is very demanding. I said, you only see the demanding nature of your wife? That is why I have to engage in sexual activity every day. I said, no, it's not her problem, it's your problem. Because you see her as an epitome of the pleasure. So duty. So now what is your duty when you are driving a car? I have to drive according to the rules. What is my duty while eating? I have to see that I'm eating what is good for me, what is healthy for me. No, but someday, I also want to extract the pleasure out of the food. So I would say here, moderation in pleasure is okay in the journey. But craving, the moment I am attached, the ego takes over, then it does not remain as a duty. Then I am acting out of my selfishness. The moment the attachment comes, the moment the craving comes, the moment that obsession comes, it leaves the personal duty and it becomes karma only. That is where the selfishness and the unselfishness line comes. Think all the time. Now I have $1 million only, and I see the people going outside, and I have to give all of them because I'm very kind. Then you are crazy. Your kindness is based on some other motivation. It is not kindness. Why it is not kindness? If you are kind enough, even before seeing that person, you should not have accumulated that money. Find out the duty. There is a thin line. Duty demands unselfishness. Selfishness means I'm attached. I am attached means that my mind says I have to move from unhappiness to happiness. That creates a circle of selfishness. Ego is the doer. And now when I'm doing I'm doing duty. Doing my duty. This means nitya and the naimitya karma. So I think, let me do this for the sake of action, so that my mind continues to move from peace to peace, happiness to happiness, love to love. Not seeking. I think you are understanding. Not seeking. My mind does not create a seeking for anything because of anything that is I'm seeking. I have to seek it for peace and happiness. So, but object does not contain peace and happiness. So it is an imagined peace and happiness. And if it is an imagined peace and happiness, there is a sense of attachment. Because imagination has to come with an attachment. That is why I'm making an effort. So the entire process becomes a selfish action. This is what we are talking. We are not talking, uh, otherwise, every social worker will become enlightened. You see that? Then every social worker become enlightened. Then every politician become enlightened because they say we are serving the country. We are serving the people.
Yeah.
Do you see? So be very clear in your head. Intellectual yoga, I would say karma yoga is purely an intellectual yoga. With clarity in the mind, and now you are performing an action. That action is not seeking the happiness because I'm unhappy. That action has to be done for the sake of the action. I have to drive the car according to the rules for the sake of driving. Think, think. So that is where the master Krishna says that you have to drop the fruits of an action. Why we say? Because the selfish activity always keeps the mind imagining about the expected result. That is the next course of challenge in the karma yoga. Master say existence will do everything it has to do in a best possible manner. And I think I discussed about it. Let me explain in a simple way. I have the resources, I have the money. I want to go to the restaurant to take a dinner. So my selfishness says, no, I have the money, I have the car, I will drive it. But there are many factors responsible to reach to the restaurant, to eat the food, and to experience the pleasure. Only money is not enough. The car is not enough. Even I need a gas in it. The traffic should not be there so that I can reach to the restaurant. Then I'm sitting in the table. I have a table. The waiter has to be kind. If the waiter says some nasty thing, my mood is off and I'm not eating. The food, after serving the food has to be well cooked according to my taste. Why I'm explaining this? For every action, we have millions of factors that is responsible. I'm not the only factor. I simply desire that I'll go to the restaurant, I'll pay the money, and I'll eat the food. That these three factors are outside. There are millions of factors responsible for every action in our life. I don't know when I drive the car what is going to happen after the next hour. So that is why the master says you are doing an action in the entire world. The world is one where you put your thought, your speech, and action, and the result will come based on multiple factors. Which are unknown to me, then why should I crave for the result? Let me focus on doing my personal duty, nitya and the naimitya karma. You have an urge to go to the restroom, you go to the restroom and you come back, you forget that karma also. You forget the restroom also. Is it an unselfish activity? Yes, it is an unselfish. You are not attached to going to the restroom again and again. You don't think about it. You don't imagine. You don't dream about it. Still, we know if I hold it, it will cause problem. Attitude in the mind is very clear. Outside the result is equanimity in the mind. Attitude in the mind, equanimity outside towards the result, it purifies the mind and we become a higher level of a seeker. This is what the master is saying. I was talking in the last session that we need a 360-degree understanding of the journey. We understand this world as a consumer. We don't understand this world as a contributor. How can you say that? You use your phone. You know everything a consumer needs to know. You don't know who contributed, who created this phone, how many technical aspects are required to create one phone. We don't know. You don't know. Even I don't know, even if you are an engineer. But in the journey of the self-discovery, I have to know all the technical details, not only of the body, of the mind, of the intellect, of the ego, of the selfishness, of the unselfishness. Then only I can reach to that state. Oh, we take it, I like this tube light, so let me buy it and fix it. Consumer. I'm a great consumer. We are a great consumer. We cherish being a consumer. We don't see the clothes that I'm wearing in cotton grown in the field, from where the cotton comes. So I have to have a simultaneous awareness of the both. From there I started this journey. Today's talk. So two things I have to remember: the equanimity of the mind and the doership. You drop both. That is what the personal duty is, nitya and the naimitya karma. That is where the unselfishness returns to the mind and it helps me to transition from one piece to the other piece, from one happiness to the other happiness, and then I recognize that happiness is all pervading. It results into the purification of the mind, and that purification of the mind makes me the higher level of